Namaste, one and all, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, my friendly hoopaholics, homies. Welcome back to another edition. This time it is not soccer, football we are talking about. It is back to Jump Ball. Season 2, Episode 3 kicks off. Now, this time around, we are looking into the play-in, but we're not going to get into the whole games, or the whole series of games. We're just going to look into the games at hand today. Firstly, it gets down in Charlotte, North Carolina. But before we actually get into the games at hand today, happy and healthy New Year's to all, especially to my Nepalese brethren, but to all that celebrate. I know Khmer, if I said it wrong, I apologize. Shout out to my boy Kyle. Cambodia, Thailand, I do believe some other countries, South Asian countries down there are celebrating New Year's as well. So to all of my fellow South Asian brethren, a happy New Year, a healthy New Year, and a prosperous year for all of you. And yeah, let's keep on shining and let's keep on going. Talk about going, let's go back into the game that we were talking about down in North Carolina. It is the Hornets, it is the Heat, arguably the perennial play-in teams in the East. This time around, I would say I am gonna roll with the Charlotte Hornets in this one. Why do I say that? Yes, Bam Adebayo, 83, Khalil Ware, potential through the roof. Tyler Hero has been easily a 20-point scorer. Norman Powell, an all-star. But after that, there are champions like Andrew Wiggins. However, the what can I say? It's not just the fluidity off that offense, because it's that offense is really predicated on Bam making the plays, everybody else shooting. But even in the shooting, they don't have a Duncan Robinson that they had before that they could, rely on a 40% clip. Everybody else, maybe, when you're shooting well, 30, 35, 40% at the best, but there's not like a designated shooter that you did have before. On the other side, talk about shooters. For the Hornets, you have LaMelo. Miles Bridges has been hitting 3-point shots now. Con Knuppel, the Rookie of the Year, probably co-Rookie of the Year favorite. That's where I am with that award. I'm not going to go through all the awards. You know what? Let me just drop my quick MVP. I have SGA at 1. I have Jokic at 2. I have Jaylen Brown at 3. I have Wemby at 4. I feel like I'm missing somebody at the top. Cade was the 5th one looking out, or 6th one looking out. But right about there, the top 3 gets down to SGA, Jokic, Jaylen Brown, Wemby, and there was a 5th candidate that I cannot think of for the life of me currently. But that's where the MVP candidate is at for me currently. But let's get back into the game. This game kind of really, if you really want to break it down simply, it's rim pressure versus 3-point barrage. Miami, like I mentioned, Khalil Ware, the size that they have. Bam Adebayo, 7 of 22 in that 3-point, in that 83-point game. But this game, it is a winner in or winner gone in a sense. So you are going to anticipate Miami to be, smarter with their possessions. I do not anticipate them to just be chucking long. I do not anticipate the Hornets to play the type of ball that the Wizards do. Though they are both young teams, I think the coaching that Jordi Fernandez has provided for them has been key to unlocking them, because they've tried the rebuild over and over. Finally, it looks like something is going to stick. A culture can be cultivated. So we'll see what Hornets do. Like I mentioned, it is youth versus experience. That Con Knuppel rookie, LaMelo Ball really hasn't done much in the playoffs, though he has gotten there. Same with Miles Bridges. Really anybody on the roster doesn't really have playoff experience. Even the vet off the bench, who I do believe is going to play a factor, Kobe White. He's balled out since getting traded back from Chicago, but in Chicago it's not like he was playing a role in a playoff team or anything, so you can't really guide them in that aspect. So it's really gets down to experience versus inexperience. We'll see which prevails. Miami does have the number one pace in the league, 104.23. Hornets have the best three-point shooting team in the league, they're making about 16 and a half three-pointers as a team. So that's going to play a factor. That is a lot of three. To make 16 and a half as a team, you are, taking a lot of threes. After trading away Mark Williams, who we'll get to in a second, and Nick Richards, you don't really have a lot of size on the interior. So, that's why I keep on mentioning Bam and Khalil Ware. If those two go off crazy, if Norman Powell chips in a 20, if Tyler Hero drops in a 20-25, then it becomes hard. But on the road, I'm going to anticipate the Charlotte, fan base. They know their ball. Them to come out. As a Hornets team, they have, struggled to kind of do anything in Charlotte. But, hey, if the team is there and there is excitement behind it, I do anticipate the fans to be there. So, let's see if the home crowd does play a factor. Because when you look into Miami, you expect the game to really start in the second quarter. Because the fan base is still, doing their activities. It is Miami. They don't really feel it until the second quarter. And then the game actually really starts going. Here, you can get into pregame activities around, get drunk, get rowdy, and try to help your squad, a young squad, get a little hostile, and try to prevail over an experienced Heat. That's where we are. Even getting down to the head coaches, same exact thing. Spoelstra's, championship and everything in his resume, Hall of Famer against, like I mentioned, a very relatively young coach who's starting his own legacy, but we'll see where that goes. Talking about coaches starting their own legacy, let's go to the other matchups at hand today. I'm talking about the number 7 versus number 8 in the Western Conference. It is the Phoenix Suns hosting the Portland Trail Blazers. This one, I am going to anticipate the Suns to take this. Why do I say that? Simply because of the Devin Booker factor. If you look at the best player on the court, it's Devin Booker. Respectfully to anybody on the Blazers, like an Advia or even Drew Holiday, who is a champion. Dame Dollar, he's not on the team, so I am going to discount him. There could be a debate made about both those players, but Dame Dollar is Dame Dollar. However, in this one, like I mentioned, D-Book has to be the factor. They have D-Book, they have Jalen Green, both guys who could get buckets. Dylan Brooks has, expanded his game to be an offensive threat as well. Maybe he has struggled a little bit more on defensively what he used to be, but in a game like this is where you want Dylan the villain to show up. I am going to anticipate him to, get the crowd behind him, get the team behind him. Kind of like if you want to go back and watch the 2022 Grizzlies, like how they had the, whoop that trick in Memphis, but ended up getting themselves whooped. In this one, I do anticipate with the Blazers not having, again, the theme of today might be inexperience. Not having the experience outside of Drew Holiday in, pressure situations, in a meaningful game, in just about anything of care, in really about half a decade since the 2019 playoff sweep. It's going to be tough, it's probably going to be a hostile crowd. You traveled from, Pacific Northwest all the way down, maybe a 3-4 hour long flight. You might have, some jet lag, whatever the case might be. I don't know when they got in. You have all that travel, going back to the youth experience. However, the thing that they do have is size. Donovan Clingan, if he has a 20, 15, 5 blocks, 3-4 assists type of game, I do believe he will, play a factor in controlling the pace of the game. The size that they have, even after they lost Ayton, they still have Time Lord, if I'm not mistaken. They still have Jeremy Grant. Denny Advia is about 6'9". Drew Holiday is not a smaller guard. He could get into Devin Booker. And then when you look at Scoot Henderson, he's a 6'3", 6'4" solid. Shaedon Sharpe, solid 6'4", 6'5". So you have guards who are kind of similar. If you actually really look into it, both those teams are very similar, where it's guards led. You have a couple big men. Mark Williams, who we mentioned from Charlotte earlier, got traded here. Nick Richards as well. However, Nick Richards not as utilized. Maybe he does. The forward options for Phoenix, they are, done. Ogadoro, I think they're both inexperienced as well. So maybe they turn into a Cam Johnson, Miles Bridges type of duo and, make them go on a run. I do anticipate them to, show out at least in front of their home crowd, get into the playoff through this way. Nobody anticipated the Suns to be where they are after the Kevin Durant trade. So shout out to Jordan Ott for having the roster competing, even if it's 7, 8, 9, 10 in the play-in right now. You win this game, you are in as the 7th seed, I do believe. So it just helps you out. Possibly another candidate in the head coach of the year topic, but we'll leave that for the ones who actually get paid for it. Like I mentioned, Mark Williams, Donovan Clingan, it can be, there could be, you can even out like a Devin Booker, a Green, a Brooks, you can kind of even that out. But if a Mark Williams or if a Mobach, if those guys on the interior start going off against a Clingan, who unfortunately struggles in this game, that will be a difficult task for Portland to get over. However, I do want to give a shout out to Donovan Clingan. Since getting Thiago Splitter as a head coach, I think he has taken his game up a notch. I think over the next 2 to 3 years, I could see him be a number 3 center as a Western All-Star, possibly. You're definitely going to get Jokic in. Wemby, you could kind of put him at a 4 or 5, so possibly because of that he gets in, and then you actually could put in Donovan Clingan as well, possibly a candidate for 2028 USA roster. People do sleep on him, and unfortunately in this one they might be getting a little salty because the Blazers don't win this, in my opinion. But the next matchup they will host at home, whether it is the Clippers that move on, whether it is the Warriors, which we're gonna get into tomorrow. You already know which way I'm leaning, but that's where we are with it. The one last little nugget I do want to leave for you guys: the Suns, their pull-up game, probably middies, 3-pointers. With D-Book, you can understand that as well, or Jalen Green. They're at about 28.3. But I do anticipate even a guy like Tamani Kamara, he could have a breakout game in this aspect, because it's one game. Anybody can have a game. I remember when Lonnie Walker, who had his career game against the Warriors and kicked us out of the play-in game. So anybody could step up in these type of winner go home type of matchups. So we'll see what happens. Talking about anybody could stepping up, the size factor that I did keep on mentioning for the Blazers, it is because of this. They are first in the NBA in second chance points, 18.4 a game yearly. You could, if you want to round up, you could take it up to 20. So they're getting 20 second chance points because of guys like Jeremy Grant, who have an excellent second jump. Denny Advia 6'9". All the other guys are pretty tall. It's about want factor. Yeah, they are both talented squads, but who's gonna want this more? Who's not gonna lose the game for their team? But at the same time, the star factor, because of how close it is, I will give it to Devin Booker and the Suns. Shout out to a homegirl Brianna from Brianna Sports. She's the only Suns fan that I know. I do not know any Blazers fan. So shout out to her. Asked her thoughts. She obviously went with her Suns, picked them to win. And I am rolling with her and the Suns roster as well. I do believe they get through. And this is kind of like a March Madness type of game. Jordan Ott, being a former Tom Izzo, Michigan State alumni, so I do anticipate him to be able to handle kind of like a mini tournament in a sense to get into the playoff. And yeah, between the star factor, between the experience, Sun should be the ones prevailing. And then from the first matchup, like I mentioned, it should be the Hornets at home prevailing over the Heat. And then we'll see what unfolds in tomorrow's matchups in both the Eastern and the Western Conference play-in games, all going down on Prime for this play-in tournament. So stay tuned for more.